Imagine a world where India and Pakistan, two nuclear-armed nations, go to war. What would be the outcome? A chilling question indeed, and one that's not entirely unthinkable given their complex and hostile history, rooted deep in the partition of British India in 1947. The tension, the conflict, the animosity, they've all been simmering, often boiling over. But what if it escalated to the point of nuclear war? Let's delve into the terrifying possibilities. Welcome to the World Stories channel, your one-stop shop for everything strange, mysterious, and downright terrifying. We dive into historical events, chase after aliens, and even dabble in the unknown. From the depths of the ocean to the far reaches of space, we leave no stone unturned in our quest for knowledge and entertainment. A light chuckle punctuates the narrative. And yes, we understand that our content can be a bit eclectic. One day we're hunting for Bigfoot. The next we're discussing the socio-political implications of a global refugee crisis. But that's what makes us unique, right? An undertone of humor. So whether you're here for the ghosts, the aliens, or the cold hard facts, we've got you covered. The tone shifts to a more serious note. Today we're delving into a topic that's as terrifying as any ghost story or alien encounter, the potential nuclear aftermath between India and Pakistan. The voiceover ends on an encouraging note. So sit tight, keep your tinfoil hats ready, and let's dive into the terrifying possibilities of a nuclear war between India and Pakistan. Remember, it's all in good fun until the aliens land. To comprehend the potential effects, we first need to understand the cause and effect relationship of a nuclear war. Let's start with the causes. A nuclear war doesn't simply ignite out of thin air. There are usually deep-rooted political tensions, historical disputes, and territorial issues that form the volatile backdrop. Take India and Pakistan, for instance. Their relationship has been characterized by a complex and hostile history, stemming from the partition of British India in 1947. The contentious issue of Kashmir has been a major point of contention, leading to multiple wars and ongoing tensions. Now let's dive into the immediate effects of a nuclear war. Picture this. The detonation of a nuclear weapon releases a tremendous amount of energy in an instant. The result? Widespread destruction. Buildings crumble to dust, infrastructure is obliterated, and cities are reduced to wastelands. But the horror doesn't end there. The immediate aftermath of a nuclear war is characterized by an enormous loss of life. The blast itself, the ensuing firestorms, and the lethal doses of radiation would result in unimaginable casualties. And then there's the environmental damage. The nuclear explosions would release vast amounts of particles and gases into the atmosphere. These could trigger a nuclear winter, where sunlight is blocked out, leading to a severe drop in temperatures worldwide. This could decimate crops, leading to global food shortages, and disrupt ecosystems, resulting in a massive loss of biodiversity. But the devastation doesn't end immediately after the nuclear explosions. The aftermath of a nuclear war would have profound, long-lasting effects, which we'll explore in the next scene. The long-term effects of a nuclear war are far-reaching and even more devastating. Imagine a world where the sun's rays are blocked by a thick layer of dust and soot, causing temperatures to plummet drastically. This is what we call a nuclear winter. It's not just a chilling prospect, it's a potential reality following a nuclear conflict. Crop failure and famine would likely follow, affecting nations far beyond the immediate war zone. Radiation is another haunting specter of nuclear warfare. It doesn't just disappear when the smoke clears. Instead, it lingers, poisoning water sources, contaminating soil, and leading to devastating health issues like cancer, birth defects, and mutations in both humans and animals. These effects can persist for generations, long after the war has ended. Societal collapse is also a potential long-term effect. Infrastructure would be destroyed, governments could fall, and entire cities could be rendered uninhabitable. Economic systems would crumble, leading to a global recession, or worse, a depression. The social fabric that holds communities together would be torn apart, leading to a rise in lawlessness and anarchy. But it's not just the physical and societal effects that we need to consider. The psychological impact on survivors and future generations would be immense. Trauma, grief, and fear would permeate every aspect of life. The knowledge of what humanity is capable of The sheer destructiveness of it could lead to a collective loss of hope and a pervasive sense of despair. And let's not forget the cultural loss. Art, literature, history, traditions, all could be wiped out in an instant, leaving a cultural void that might never be filled. The heritage of entire civilizations reduced to rubble and ash. And the effects of such a war aren't confined to just these two nations. This isn't a regional issue, it's a global one. The fallout from a nuclear war between India and Pakistan would touch every corner of the globe, leaving no one untouched by its devastating effects. A nuclear war between India and Pakistan would have global consequences. This isn't a statement to be taken lightly. The ripple effect of such an event would be felt far beyond the borders of these two nations, impacting economies and political landscapes across the globe. Let's start by looking at the countries that would be immediately economically affected by this war. The United States, China, and the United Arab Emirates, having strong trade ties with both India and Pakistan, would be hit hard. The disruption in trade would not only affect the import and export of goods and services, but also the foreign investments these countries have in India and Pakistan. Moving on to Europe, countries like Germany, the United Kingdom, and France, with their significant investments in the Indian subcontinent, would feel the economic shockwaves. The disruption of global supply chains would be inevitable. Industries worldwide, relying on raw materials, labor, and products from this region, would come to a grinding halt, leading to shortages, increased prices, and potentially job losses. The global economy, still reeling from the effects of the 2023 recession, would be pushed into an even deeper abyss. Economists predict a downturn that could last for several years, if not decades. The World Bank and International Monetary Fund would likely have to step in to prevent a total global economic collapse. The political implications cannot be underestimated either. The world would likely see a shift in power dynamics, with countries allying or distancing themselves based on their stance on the war. The United Nations would have a critical role in maintaining global peace and order, but the tasks would be Herculean. In the wake of such a catastrophic event, we would all be left asking, and what about our home, planet Earth? Planet Earth would bear the brunt of a nuclear war between India and Pakistan. The environmental repercussions would be immense, spreading across continents, far beyond the borders of these two nations. Nuclear conflict would trigger what is known as a nuclear winter, a chilling term for a chilling reality. Massive amounts of soot and dust would be propelled into the stratosphere, blocking sunlight from reaching the Earth's surface. This would cause a drastic drop in global temperatures, potentially for several years. The fallout would disrupt the cycle of seasons, affecting crop growth and food production worldwide. A nuclear war would not just cast a shadow over our planet, it would also significantly increase greenhouse gases. The destruction of vast urban areas and subsequent fires would release millions of tons of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere, exacerbating the already critical issue of climate change. And let's not forget the potential for mass extinctions. The intense radiation, the drastic climate changes, the collapse of food chains, all these factors could lead to a catastrophic loss of biodiversity. Species that have been part of Earth's tapestry for millions of years could disappear in the blink of an eye. The long-term effects on Earth's ecosystems would be profound. Forests, rivers, oceans, none would be spared from the fallout. Ecosystems take centuries, if not millennia, to evolve, but a nuclear war could decimate them in moments, leaving in its wake a planet struggling to heal. The impact of a nuclear war between India and Pakistan wouldn't just be a chapter in human history. It would be a turning point in Earth's history. It would shape the course of life on this planet for all species, for generations to come. So, what have we learned from this discussion? A nuclear war between India and Pakistan would be catastrophic, to say the least. We've journeyed through the unnerving possibilities, laying bare the grim realities that would ensue should such a disaster occur. From the immediate devastation brought about by the nuclear exchange, causing unimaginable death and destruction, to the long-term impacts that would linger for generations. The fallout from such a conflict wouldn't be confined to these two nations alone. It would ripple outwards, setting off a domino effect of economic and political instability across the globe. No country would be left untouched as the world economy reels from the shock, struggling to stabilize amidst the chaos. And then there's our home, planet Earth. The environmental damage would be profound and irreversible. We'd see an unprecedented nuclear winter, a drastic drop in global temperatures that would disrupt ecosystems and agriculture worldwide. The very fabric of life as we know it would be altered, possibly beyond repair. But this grim narrative doesn't have to be our reality. It serves as a stark reminder of the power we wield and the responsibility that comes with it. We must strive for peace and diplomacy to prevent such a catastrophe. For the sake of humanity and our planet, we can't afford a nuclear war. Let's delve deeper into another chilling facet of this grim narrative, the humanitarian crisis that would follow a nuclear war. As the dust settles and the initial shock subsides, millions would find themselves displaced, their homes and cities reduced to rubble. The struggle for survival in a post-nuclear world would be harsh and unforgiving. Food would be scarce, clean water a luxury, and medical aid an urgent necessity amidst the widespread radiation sickness. Imagine the plight of those who survived the initial blast. Wandering through the ruins, their lives upturned, they would face the daunting task of building from scratch in a world turned upside down. Families would be torn apart, communities shattered, and entire cultures possibly erased. It is a bleak vision, but one that is all too possible if we fail to heed the lessons of history and the warnings of science. In such a scenario, international humanitarian organizations would play a critical role. They would be the first responders, providing immediate relief and attempting to bring some semblance of order in the chaos. But their resources would be stretched thin, strained by the enormity of the disaster. But the crisis wouldn't be limited to humans alone. The animals, plants, and entire ecosystems would suffer too, their existence threatened by the nuclear fallout and the ensuing nuclear winter. The biodiversity we've spent centuries documenting and understanding could be wiped out in a matter of days. We've painted a grim picture here, but it's crucial to understand the full extent of the horrors a nuclear war would unleash. Only then can we truly appreciate the importance of peace and diplomacy in our world. Moving on from the human suffering, we now turn our attention to the silent victims of this hypothetical nuclear war, the wildlife. The devastation wouldn't be limited to humans alone. The immediate aftermath of the nuclear blast would result in countless deaths within the animal kingdom. The lucky few who escaped the initial destruction would face a world tainted by radiation. Imagine birds with deformed beaks, mammals with abnormal growths, fish with mutated fins. These are the potential realities of a nuclear fallout's impact on wildlife. The long-term effects on animal populations would be severe, with genetic mutations becoming increasingly prevalent. The balance of ecosystems would be thrown into chaos, with predators and prey alike suffering from the devastating effects of radiation. Whole species could be wiped out, leading to a dramatic decline in biodiversity. The fallout would not discriminate between a lion or a lamb, an eagle or a sparrow. The effects would ripple outwards, impacting even those creatures in the farthest corners of the globe. And these effects wouldn't stop at the borders of these two nations. The wind and water would carry the deadly particles far and wide, contaminating habitats on a global scale. It's a grim reminder of the interconnectedness of life on Earth and the far-reaching consequences of our actions. As we've explored the devastation of a nuclear war on both humans and wildlife, we must also consider the ensuing global refugee crisis. A nuclear war between two countries, in this case India and Pakistan, would cause an enormous wave of displacement. Imagine millions of people, their homes and livelihoods obliterated, fleeing in fear from the radioactive fallout. They would seek refuge in neighboring countries, creating an unprecedented influx of refugees. This sudden surge of population would place a tremendous strain on the resources and infrastructure of these countries. Food, water, shelter, medical care, the demand for these basic necessities would skyrocket, potentially leading to shortages and further unrest. The international community would be faced with an enormous challenge, managing such a crisis on a global scale. The need for humanitarian aid would be immense, calling for a coordinated global response. But in the face of a nuclear fallout, even the most concerted efforts may fall short. And the effects of a nuclear war wouldn't just be felt in the immediate aftermath. The lingering radiation, the emotional trauma, the loss of infrastructure, these are issues that would persist for generations. The global refugee crisis is yet another grim reminder of the far-reaching, devastating consequences of a nuclear war. It's a scenario we must strive to avoid at all costs. Our journey into the impact of nuclear war doesn't end with the immediate aftermath or the refugee crisis. The fallout of such a catastrophic event would echo through generations to come. This is the generational impact. First, we must consider the genetic implications. The radioactive fallout from a nuclear explosion doesn't just dissipate, it lingers, seeping into the soil, the water, the very fabric of life. This radiation can cause severe health issues in those directly exposed. But the damage doesn't stop there. Genetic mutations caused by radiation can be passed down through generations, leading to a surge in birth defects and illnesses in the children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren of those initially exposed. Then there's the psychological trauma. The survivors of a nuclear war would carry emotional scars that could last a lifetime. Their children would grow up in a world shaped by fear and loss, a society struggling to rebuild amidst the ruins. The societal norms, cultures, and structures we take for granted today could be completely upended, leading to a world that's nearly unrecognizable. Finally, the physical recovery from a nuclear war would be a Herculean task. Infrastructure would have to be rebuilt, economies restarted, societies restructured. The resources and time required to recover from such a cataclysmic event are staggering. And all the while, the survivors and their descendants would be struggling to reclaim a sense of normalcy, to find hope in a world forever scarred by nuclear war. In the end, the generational impact of a nuclear war paints a grim picture. The world as we know it would be forever changed, leaving in its wake a landscape marked by radiation, trauma, and an uphill battle towards recovery. It is a future we must strive to prevent at all costs. Because as we delve deeper into the consequences of nuclear war, it's crucial to consider the political aftermath. This aspect is complex, far-reaching, and could potentially reshape the very fabric of international relations. Firstly, the countries directly affected by nuclear war would likely face immense political instability. Existing political structures may crumble under the strain of catastrophe, leading to power vacuums and the rise of opportunistic factions. The disarray could fuel internal conflicts, creating a cycle of violence and instability that could last for generations. Secondly, the international community would be thrust into a delicate balancing act. On one hand, they would need to provide humanitarian aid and support to the affected nations. On the other, they would have to prevent further conflict, ensuring the fallout doesn't escalate into a broader, more devastating war. The diplomatic finesse required in such a scenario would be unprecedented. Thirdly, the global power dynamics could potentially shift in the aftermath of a nuclear war. Nations unaffected by the war may seize the opportunity to assert dominance, leading to a reshuffling of the global power hierarchy. The world map, as we know it today, could be redrawn. But amidst the devastation, there is a glimmer of hope. Such a cataclysmic event could serve as a stark reminder of the horrors of war, potentially galvanizing nations towards a more peaceful, cooperative global order. As we stand on the precipice of potential destruction, it's essential to remember that our shared humanity is our strongest weapon against the horrors of nuclear war. In the aftermath of such a catastrophe, the call for peace would be louder than ever. The world, having witnessed the devastating impact of nuclear war, would have no choice but to rethink its approach to global politics and conflict resolution. A renewed focus on disarmament and non-proliferation treaties would likely emerge, with nations pushing for stricter regulations and stronger enforcement mechanisms to prevent the recurrence of such an event. Simultaneously, a global movement towards peace and diplomacy could gain momentum. Across the globe, citizens, leaders, and organizations would rally together, advocating for peaceful conflict resolution, mutual respect, and global cooperation. The shared experience of loss and devastation would serve as a powerful reminder of our shared humanity, potentially sparking a shift towards a more peaceful, cooperative global order. But this hopeful future is not guaranteed. It requires learning from our past and making conscious, deliberate choices to prevent such a disaster in the future. Each of us holds a piece of this puzzle, from the leaders who shape our policies to the citizens who hold them accountable. And so we must remember the power we hold and the responsibility that comes with it. As we stand on the precipice, we must choose peace, choose cooperation, and choose a future where nuclear war is a distant memory rather than an imminent threat. The call for peace is not just a plea, it's a necessity. Congratulations, you've made it to the end of this roller coaster ride of a video. We dove deep into the somber reality of nuclear war, its impacts, and the potential aftermath. But you, dear viewer, you stuck with us through the grim, the gloomy, and the downright horrifying. For that, we salute you. You're like the Indiana Jones of YouTube, braving the dark caverns of knowledge in search of truth. Now, if you enjoyed this journey, or even if you're just a fan of our charming, velvety, our content, why not hit that subscribe button? It's just sitting there, all lonely, waiting for your click. And while you're at it, why not ring the bell too? It's like the cherry on top of the subscribe sundae. Plus, it'll keep you in the loop whenever we drop a new video. And don't forget to like, comment, and share. Every thumbs up makes our alien overlords very happy. Your comments are like the fuel that keeps this channel's engine running. And sharing, well, that's just the icing on the cake. It's like telling your friends, hey, check out this cool video about the end of the world. Who wouldn't want to be that friend? So go on, hit that like button like it owes you money, ring that bell like you're in a boxing match, and share this video like it's the latest gossip. Remember, every like, comment, and share makes our alien overlords very happy. Until next time, stay curious, stay vigilant, and as always, keep your tinfoil hats at the ready.